You know what's interesting about success? We like to believe it changes people. We say things like, money got to his head, or power ruined her. But what if that's not true at all? What if success doesn't change you? It just gives you the freedom to stop hiding who you already are? That's exactly what makes Breaking Bad so uncomfortable to watch. Because Walter White doesn't suddenly become a different person. He slowly becomes a more honest version of himself. At the beginning, Walter looks like someone you'd feel sorry for. A high school teacher, underpaid, underestimated. He's clearly intelligent, probably the smartest person in any room he walks into. But his life doesn't reflect that at all. And that's where the frustration begins. You can see it in the way he talks, the way he holds himself back, the way he lets people walk over him, his boss, his students, even his own family. Walter isn't weak, he's restrained. There's a difference. Then comes the diagnosis, and suddenly, time becomes real. When people know they're running out of time, something shifts. The filters start to disappear, the fear of judgment starts to matter less, and for Walter, that's when everything begins. What's fascinating is that his first decision to cook meth doesn't come from pure greed, at least not on the surface. It comes from a mix of fear, pride, and desperation. He wants to provide for his family, but more than that, he wants to feel like his life meant something. And that feeling, wanting your life to matter, is something almost everyone understands. But here's where things start to get uncomfortable, because as Walter steps deeper into that world, he doesn't hesitate as much as you'd expect. He adapts quickly, too quickly. The lies get easier, the decisions get colder, and the man who once avoided conflict starts creating it. There's a moment later in the story where Walter says, "I did it for me." And that line changes everything, because it forces you to look back and question the entire journey. Was this ever really about his family? Or was that just the excuse he needed to justify what he already wanted? Power is a strange thing. When you don't have it, you imagine it as something external, something that will improve your life, fix your problems, make you better. But when you actually get it, it does something much more revealing. It removes the consequences that used to keep you in check. And without those limits, you don't become someone new. You become more of who you already were. Walter always had an ego. You can see it even in the early episodes, in the way he reacts when someone questions him, in the quiet resentment he carries about his past. He believes he deserved more from life, and maybe he did, but that belief slowly turns into something darker. It becomes entitlement. That's when the transformation really happens. Not when he starts breaking the law, not when he makes his first dangerous move, but when he starts enjoying it, when control starts to feel good, when being feared starts to feel like respect. That's the moment Walter stops pretending, and that's what makes his story so difficult to ignore. Because if you strip away the extreme situation, the drugs, the crime, the violence, what you're left with is something very human. A person who felt overlooked, a person who believed they were capable of more, a person who got a taste of power and didn't want to let go. Most people won't end up in Walter's situation, but the emotions, the frustration, the pride, the desire to be recognized, those are universal. So the real question isn't whether Walter White was a good person or a bad one. That's too simple. The real question is, what happens to anyone when the limits disappear? When there's nothing left holding you back, no fear, no consequences, no expectations, who do you become? Because it's easy to judge Walter from a distance. It's easy to say, I would never do that. But the truth is, most people have never been tested in the same way. And that's why his story stays with you, not because it's extreme, but because, in a strange way, it feels possible. So maybe success doesn't change people. Maybe it just gives them the chance to stop pretending.